Welcome back, everybody. I'm joined once again by Mr. J.C. Franet. Or rather, I'm joining you because you were here in the last section.
I haven't moved much, so that's okay.
Jesus Christ for that.
We got patch notes coming live on February 2nd.
Yeah.
But I think we have one thing
What?
to talk about before we dive into the notes. Wasn't there a testing grounds, a ground of testing?
Yeah, ground of testing, right? So there's two things, right? First, we completed the Jormungandr testing grounds not that long ago. Went extremely well. We're super happy with the results. We'll have more details to share, in the coming weeks or whatever. But really, the idea is like it went well. We got a lot of feedback.
That's
and,
good.
We were able to act on a lot of that feedback. So I think we're gonna have a really, really good rework. We're all super proud of it. So that was amazing.
Good.
And thank you, real quick, to everyone who responded to the Testing Grounds survey, who
Yeah.
gave us feedback on the subreddit. It was really appreciated. So thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Honestly, like my wife got mad at me because I was on Reddit too much. But I mean, this is what happens. But it went well. Yeah, you doing that?
Yeah.
That's a
We
big
have
one.
plans today.
Yeah.
There's Reddit feedback.
There's Reddit feedback I gotta read. Yeah.
Darn.
And so the other thing I want to talk about is the dodge attack improvements testing rounds that we did a little while ago. So we wanted to take a bit more time into bringing that live, parsing through a lot of the feedback that we got. I know a lot of people liked it. We know some people, like there was some aspects they liked, some aspects they didn't like. We got a lot of really constructive feedback. So
That's good.
Great. We're taking our time a little bit, but it's going to be coming soon. The changes are going to be coming soon, so it should be really, really good.
And that was an interesting pile of feedback to dive into. Because
Yeah.
on the surface, it was like, ah! And then when we dug into it, it was like, well, I like 80% of it, but there's like 20% that is freaking me
Exactly.
out a little
Yeah.
bit. So we really wanted to dig into that and thoroughly understand where you guys are coming from. So
Good.
Yeah, and the more nuance we get in that type of feedback, the better it is for us because we can really act on specific things and not just go blanket. I don't like this or I like this, right? So
yeah.
that's always really good to have.
All right. I think that's it. We can jump into the
Yeah.
notes of the
Good
patch.
notes, right?
Yeah.
Patch
Alright,
notes.
So
Here are
we have
improvements.
hero improvements as usual. Right? We've been doing this for a while
Yeah.
now, so that's pretty good.
I just want to see the slate. It was
Want to
so-
see the slate? Yeah, right. Okay, so we're gonna start with defensive stance abilities. So by that I mean abilities that you perform while you're
That block
holding
no
down
longer.
on the right stick on your controller.
Defensive stance
or holding down
abilities
with your
that
mouse if you
block
want, or, whatever
no
you do there.
longer.
So for Conqueror, Blackbriar, Valkyrie, Warlord, Kyoshin, and Nobushi, doesn't really have like she has that sort of input, but it's not really as defensive. But for the people for the heroes that actually have that block there, those abilities no longer pause stamina regeneration.
Stamina
You
regeneration when
regen your stamina
held.
while you're in that block stance.
Oh, okay.
It no longer costs stamina when you block attacks. I know Spaniard is going to be mad at me. Because that's how he calculates how much, like the hit reactions of attacks.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be.
Well, he's going to
I'm
have
sorry.
to find a new methodology.
Exactly, right? We love the guy. So we removed the stamina cost to block attacks, specifically because again we really want to flow towards like not being stamina starved all the time, especially with those abilities. I know I've heard comments from people that go, "Well, I'm just gonna stay in there all the time." That's not useful at all. You're gonna get guard broken out of
yeah.
it. Like it's not broken or anything. So that's
Have fun attempting to make that work.
exactly. And then the last thing that very few people knew about was that whenever you used to block attacks in those stances, you got less revenge, right? And so that might be part of why sometimes you're like, oh, why didn't I get revenge there? Well, it's because you were using that full block. But we've removed that aspect, so now you get the normal amount of revenge. Should help you survive better in group fights, be able to use those abilities quite a bit more. So that should be really, really useful.
Oh,
Hey?
So I can now feed even more revenge.
Exactly, right? That's how it works. And then for Nobushi specifically, so hidden stance no longer pauses stamina regeneration when you hold it. Again, she can
Nice.
go into her hidden stance, get her stamina back. She only dodges really when you start it up. So she can stay in that stance, but at least she's not going to be like again stamina starved while she's in there and not having to really have a look at her stamina and go, oh, this is what I have to do. I have to be really, really careful. So you can go into it more often, hold it for longer, and get like those sweet options she has out of there a little bit more often.
Okay.
Awesome. One
Cool.
more reason for me to avoid Nobushi.
Yeah. We all love Nobushi. Next we have Berserker. So
I mean, this is a short no.
it's a
but-
very short note, right?
But I'm seeing some
Before
words in
could
bold.
only cancel
Words in
recoveries
bold, yeah.
on
So
miss.
I'm feeling like this isn't a simple change.
It's not a
Okay.
simple change, but it's a very significant one.
It's a good one.
So Berserker can
For
now
Berserker.
cancel the recovery of every single attack with a dodge at 300 milliseconds. So before, Berserker could only really cancel the recovery of a bunch of attacks into a dodge, but only on miss. And so with this, it's every single attack, every single time. And we really wanted to go towards that with Berserker, because the hero is supposed to be a crazy attack machine that always attacks. Berserker has front dodge heavies, front dodge lights, side dodge lights, everything's enhanced, and it really fits the hero super well. Gives him a lot of movement, invulnerability rather, in group fights. A lot of you can do a lot of more stuff with that. Right?
More
You go
movement.
attack somebody in a group fight, try to get peeled. Oh, and I'm gonna dodge away. And we felt super confident giving this to Berserker right now, because there's no bashes that are super quick, that have like these really difficult moves to kind of deal with. So we were confident enough to give this to Berserker right now live instead of going to a testing grounds with that, because it works really well with the hero. It makes a lot of sense, and we're not anticipating a lot of difficult things.
Yeah,
Good,
'cause
good
everything with
condoms.
Berserker is really like flowing and
Yeah.
fast, and then you'd hit this kind of chunky moment.
Yeah, you get into those
Yeah.
heavy finishers, just boom, I'm stopping, and then I have to start again and start again and start again. So with this, like, you get a lot more mobility and a much better flow there.
Yeah, and now we know why you can't give a Viking 2 axes.
Exactly.
They'll go berserk.
Exactly. They literally go berserk. That's the problem there.
Kensei.
All right, next up we have Kensei. So
Hit reaction.
we've been doing a lot of changes to Kensei recently, and this is like one of the final ones we're going to be doing for now. But I think it's one that was super well requested.
They can be
Basically, this
dodged.
kind of rounds out Kensei's offense in 1v1.
Huh.
So the chain light attacks now cause a medium hit reaction. They used to cause a light hit reaction. And we've also adjusted the timings from chain lights to finisher lights, so you can still dodge them, right? So you can't just go like light spam and your opponent can't dodge out of them or whatever. But this might not seem like much, but this means that Kensei can do the opener into pommel strike, into into chained light, and then do that top heavy finisher that's unblockable, and it will no longer be interruptible at all by your opponent. So that's kind of like the final thing here, where if Kensei gets his pommel strike, which he does quite often, then going to that finisher is super rewarding, because then you force people to really, really deal with that mix-up. And then that finisher has like a lot of soft feints to do a bunch of different things. So it's super effective. It works quite well. And it gives the hero a lot more pressure in 1v1 situations.
Yeah, it sounds like it should break him away from being so reliant on that top-heavy mix-up.
Yeah, right? Because before, the problem was that because you could do it, right, you had to always, I'm going to do the side heavies because they have armor. You had to commit to more things. Whereas in 1v1 scenarios, it's not really optimal. It doesn't feel as good. So with this, at least, you can be sure you won't be interrupted by your opponent by a quick light, for example. That works. It's super, super strong. Gives him a lot more pressure, so that's good.
No, that sounds good. But yeah, so with the chain light attack.
Yeah, with the timing. So the timing makes sure that the light finishers can be dodged. So because we give it a medium hit reaction, you could do like a chain light into a finisher light, and you couldn't dodge the finisher light. So with the chain link timing extended a little bit, it means that you can dodge those finisher light. We know like a lot of people, like, it's important to be able to dodge in between some of those lights to give people a bit more breathing room. So that's why we also adjusted that there to make sure that things would be okay and that you wouldn't feel the pressure. It also incentivizes you to use that top heavy finisher, right? Because otherwise, if the light is undodgeable, then sometimes you go, why would I use that top heavy?
Yeah,
so
just
exactly right.
Forever.
We don't want people to complain about light spam anymore.
No,
So,
light spam can stay.
Shaman.
Yeah. Exactly. So Shaman. So for Shaman, the left and right stance, Raven's Claw and Raven's Bile. So that's a soft feint from heavy openers and chains after heavy finishers. So the sides used to be 466 and the top was 400. Now all three sides are 400.
Nice.
That gives Shaman more unreactable offense. We know from Peacekeeper, from Raider, from Aramusha, from Kensei, that those soft feints into really, really quick attacks work really well. In her case, it's a bleed that enables her to pounce and bite people and do like all sorts of cool things.
Oh, is the bleed?
Gives synergy with Nobushi.
I have the 53 reps of Shaman, and I don't even know what half of them it's called.
Really interesting. We really want her to be able to like apply that bleed more often, more consistently, and making it 400 should be unreactable even for our more crazy reaction players that we have. So that's really, really strong here. Gives her a lot more pressure in those situations. It makes her quite a bit better.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like she's going to have a lot better blood pressure.
Oh, yeah. Her
Bruh.
blood pressure's going to go through the roof now. That's pretty good.
Chad's going to hate me for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm okay.
All right, so Black Prior. So we've also adjusted Black Prior's light finishers to now cause a medium hit reaction. It used to be a light reaction.
Tenebris burst can now be
We've also
cancelled
adjusted the light finisher recoveries, so
stance?
you have the same frame advantage as you had before. So it means the recoveries are a little bit longer, but it also means that if a Black Prior does light to you and then he spams light, your light will beat their light. Right, so that's the idea here. We really wanted to keep that aspect really, really strongly. That's a very important aspect of what we did with the Core Combat update a few years ago, and it's very, very important to us for us to have that. Because that's now a medium hit reaction, Black Prior can now do light finisher to bulwark, into bulwark stance, into bulwark slash, without getting interrupted. Similarly to what we have with Kensei, right? The idea is we want Black Prior to be able to flow more into more offense.
And like access that bulwark stance.
Exactly, right? And access that bulwark stance and be able to use the bulwark slashes a lot more effectively. Because part of the problem that Black Prior has is that he feels like a really 1-2 type of character all the time, right? You do shield bash and do light finisher, shield bash and do light finisher. And so having that flow coming afterwards brings a lot more variety, improves the overall flow of the character, and makes you want to use the rest of them a lot more to get into those situations.
Nice, Mike.
Open them up.
Yeah, round him out a little bit, right? And also, we've also adjusted Tenebrous Thrust, and you can now cancel its recoveries with a bulwark stance, which you couldn't before. We were trying to stay away from that a little bit, but now we're trying to go into something a little bit different. Yeah, you want me to?
Oh no,
the mic? All right, I have to pick up a mic. So, all right, so I'm gonna be on this mic. Yeah, so that's it for Black Prior here, right? So we're gonna have that aspect here. Let's get to the next one. So we have a couple of other changes to other heroes. So for Kyoshin, we have Hakaze and Mushu Hakaze, which now cost 6 stamina. I said that
Helm
really fast.
Cleaver is now
Basically,
hands,
those are
which can now perform for
Hakaze
retreat
stance,
and hit
light,
and stance
zone
after
attack.
100
So they now
ms
cost 6
in
stamina instead of
stance.
12.
Yeah.
Works better. Gives Kyoshin much better stamina economy.
Valkyrie's shield tackle no longer causes
Exactly,
stamina
right? So it
damage.
goes in line with what I was saying earlier, where we want those heroes to have
Good.
more stamina, less like constantly out of breath. You know, so that's a big thing.
Yeah, because Kyoshin feels like, okay, I did my thing. Now I gotta like wait a second.
Exactly.
Okay, now I did my thing.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Right? So with this, it doesn't like completely you still have to watch your stamina, but it helps. Like every little bit helps. So every little bit helps there as well. Warmonger. So for Warmonger, Beast of Prey, which is her side dodge heavies, they now have extended dodge properties. So what does that mean? It means that she has invulnerability frames for longer. It means she has tracking break, which is what we kind of call whenever you dodge an attack, right? So the way it works is I throw an attack at you and you dodge. It kind of breaks the tracking I have towards you so that I'm going to miss. So that's the idea here. So that tracking break is longer, lets her dodge attacks more effectively. Beast of Prey is really good in group fights. Well, it was kind of okay in group fights. With this, it should be much better in group fights. Lets Warmonger reposition, throw big, heavy unblockables at people, target swap them, do all sort of stuff, and be a lot safer while she does.
Looking forward to that one in particular. Warmonger is one of my mains. So
yeah. Then we have Griffon. So for Griffon,
Griffon
is now
Griffin.
That's dodge forward light. So for some of these heroes, and some people have probably noticed, and you probably noticed as well. In the past few seasons, we've been doing some incremental changes to some heroes, right? And sometimes it's like, oh, it's a little thing, it's a little thing, it's a little thing. In the case of Griffon here, it's not the biggest buff we've ever done, but at the same time, it's one step forward, right? And so we want to make sure that sometimes we do like these step by step, so we can do like a little bit and then evaluate. Oh, okay, well in the future, this worked well. So what else can we do to improve the character? What else can we do to improve the character? And go like a little bit slower in there. We're doing a lot more frequent updates with this, so it works really, really well. And that should also help Griffon get into better offense regardless. So it's still a good tool.
Either they spelled his name wrong or they call him the wrong thing. Because all people are calling him Griffin.
Changes, and we're like, oh, 80% of those were good, but like these couple now
right?
That's the
or is it Griffon?
Exactly, right.
And so this allows us to just
we go
ratchet
step
it up.
and it works really well. Next we have
Yeah,
Well,
it
it looks
didn't
like a
press
bug
anything.
fix, but it's also an improvement on the Bushi. So she can now do Viper's Retreat and Hidden Stance at 100 ms in the stance change. That used to be at 300 ms. So basically, when you change your stance, it takes overall 300 milliseconds. But you can normally attack after 100. And so Nobushi could not do Viper's Retreat or Hidden Stance until the end of that 300. And so to have a lot more consistency with when she can attack, when she can go into a Hidden Stance, we really put it at 100 ms, like what she would have when she attacks. Really helps her, again, have more fluidity a little bit here. And
It's
also,
just going to feel better.
yeah, she feels better, right? Because the thing is, sometimes even for Hidden Stance, like, I do it all the time. Like, because I don't go and adjust my dead zones like crazy, like some players do, which is, I don't know, a great thing to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes you want to hit down and then, you were like a little bit too diagonal for some reason because you're not super accurate like I am. I'm getting old, so. And then I hit the diagonal and then, oops, I changed my stance. And then I have to wait 300 ms before I can go into a Hidden Stance. So that's one of those buffs here that really, really helps that input come through here. And then finally, Valkyrie. So Valkyrie's shield tackle no longer causes stamina damage. I don't know if you've seen. I think you have.
Yeah, I've seen the videos.
Right. And there's been a big tier list recently for Dominion, and Valkyrie is S tier. And so we love the fact that she's strong. It's amazing that we had a really good rework with her. Like, everybody's super proud of it. But at the same time, she did not need stamina damage on a unreactable bash that deals a good amount of damage. For the risk that you take when you go into it, it makes sense to have that higher damage, but she doesn't need to cause stamina damage on top of it. So we removed that stamina damage entirely there.
Good.
So the hero is still strong. I don't see her dropping, but at least this should lead to a lot less frustration when facing her, because she's not meant to be a stamina bully. She's not meant to drain your stamina.
She's not meant to be Yorm, old Yorm.
Eventually, she wears you down, and then it just gets frustrating. So we try to get away from that.
Yeah, shield tackle has a lot of modifiers on it. So, hopefully missing,
That
arguably the least of will, will feel a little bit better when you're just getting kicked in the dirt by her.
Exactly, right? So that's it for patch notes and hero improvements.
Awesome. So you guys, this is only a snippet of the patch notes. You can look for the full patch notes on February 2nd. They'll be up on the website. And I believe that's it for this segment. But we'll be right back with Nolan, Kyle, and Luc St. Pierre for a special segment on For Honor's music and audio.
Amazing.
Oh,
yeah, just consistently one of the best parts.
I am super psyched for that.
So stick around. We'll be right back after the switcheroo.
All right.
I never see Samurai. No. Yo. It looks like, no. Well, I don't really do